Hi y'all, welcome to a reading of Inanna's descent into the underworld. In this video and the next video, I will be reading the myth of Inanna's descent into the underworld. And there were some pieces missing, but I just got this off of the internet and I will link down below in the description box if you want to look it up yourself and read it for yourself. So this is what I am reading. So this is a reading of Inanna's descent into the underworld in two parts. This is part one.
From the great heaven she set her mind on the great below. From the great heaven the goddess set her mind on the great below. From the great heaven Inanna set her mind on the great below. My mistress abandoned heaven, abandoned earth, and descended to the underworld. Inanna abandoned heaven, abandoned earth, and descended to the underworld. She abandoned the office of Inn, abandoned the office of Lagar, and descended to the underworld. She abandoned the Inana and Ong, and descended to the underworld. She abandoned the Mokkalama and the Bad Tibra, and descended to the underworld. She abandoned the Giguna and Zambalam, and descended to the underworld. She abandoned the Ikara and Adab, and descended to the underworld. She abandoned Barag Durjara and Nibru, and descended to the underworld. She abandoned Herjat Kalama and Kik, and descended to the underworld. She abandoned Eolmak and Agad, and descended to the underworld. She took the 7 divine powers, she collected the divine powers and grasped them in her hand. With the good divine powers she went on her way. She put a turban, headgear for the open country, on her head. She took a wig for her forehead. She hung small lapis lazuli beads around her neck. She placed twin egg-shaped beads on her breast. She covered her body with a pala dress, the garment of ladyship. She placed mascara, which was called Let Men Come, Let Him Come, on her eyes. She pulled the pectoral, which is called Come Man Come, on her breast. She placed a golden ring on her hand. She held the lapis lazuli measuring rod and measuring line in her hand. Inanna traveled towards the underworld. Her minister, Ninkubra, traveled behind her. Holy Inanna said to Ninkubra, "Come, my faithful minister of Inanna, my minister who speaks fair words, my escort who speaks trustworthy words. I am going to give you instruction. My instruction must be followed. I am going to say something to you. It must be observed. On this day I will descend to the underworld. When I have arrived in the underworld, make a lament for me on the ruins mounds. Beat a drum for me in the sanctuary, and make the rounds of the houses of the gods for me. Lacerate your eyes for me, lacerate your nose for me. In private, lacerate your buttocks for me. Like a pauper, clothe yourself in a single garment, and all alone set your foot in the Ikur, the house of Enlil. When you have entered the Ikur, the house of Enlil, lament before Enlil. Father Enlil, don't let anyone kill your daughter in the underworld. Don't let your precious metal be alloyed there with the dirt of the underworld. Don't let your precious lapis lazuli be split there with the mason's stone. Don't let your boxwood be chopped up there with the carpenter's wood. Don't let young Lady Inanna be killed in the underworld. If Enlil does not help you in this matter, go to Urim, in the Imand Kara at Urim. When you have entered the Ikuk Nujal, the house of Nana, lament before Nana. Father Nana, don't let anyone kill your daughter in the underworld. Don't let your precious metal be alloyed there with the dirt of the underworld. Don't let your precious lapis lazuli be split there with the mason's stone. Don't let your boxwood be chopped up there with the carpenter's wood. Don't let Lady Inana be killed in the underworld. And if Nana does not help you in this matter, go to Erog. In Erog, when you have entered the house of Inki, lament before Inki. Father Inki, don't let anyone kill your daughter in the underworld. Don't let your precious metal be alloyed there with the dirt of the underworld. Don't let your precious lapis lazuli be split there with the mason's stone. Don't let your boxwood be chopped up there with the carpenter's wood. Don't let young Lady Inana be killed in the underworld. Father Inki, the Lord of great wisdom, knows about the life-giving plant and the life-giving water. He is the one who will restore me to life. When Inana traveled on towards the underworld, her minister, Nunkumbara, traveled on behind her. She said to her minister, "Go now, my Nunkumbara, and pay attention. Do not neglect the instructions I gave you." When Inana arrived at the palace, Ganzer, she pushed aggressively on the door of the underworld. She shouted aggressively at the gate of the underworld, "Open up! Doorman, open up! Open up, Nettie! Open up! I am all alone, and I want to come in." Nettie, the chief doorman of the underworld, answered Holy Inana, "Who are you?" "I am Inana, going to the east." "If you are Inana going to the east, why have you traveled to the land of no return? How did you set your heart on the road whose traveler never returns?" Holy Inana answered him, "Because Lord Gulgalana, the husband of my elder sister, Holy Arakagala, has died. In order to have his funeral rites observed, she offers generous libations at his wake. That is the reason." Nettie, the chief doorman of the underworld, answered Holy Inana, "Stay here, Inana. I will speak to my mistress. I will speak to my mistress, Arakagala, and I will tell her what you have said." Nettie, the chief doorman of the underworld, entered the house of his mistress, Arakagala, and said, "My mistress, there is a lone girl outside. It is Inana, your sister. She has arrived at the palace Ganzer. She pushed aggressively on the door of the underworld. She shouted aggressively at the gate of the underworld. She has abandoned Inana and descended to the underworld. She has taken the 7 divine powers. She has collected the divine powers and grasped them in her hand. She has come on her way with all the good divine powers. She's put a turban headgear for the open country on her head. She has taken a wig for her forehead. She has hung small lapis lazuli beads around her neck. She placed twin egg-shaped beads on her breast, and she's covered her body with the pala dress of ladyship. She has placed mascara, which is called Let a Man Come, on her eyes. She pulled the pictorial, which is called Come Man Come, over her breast. When she has placed a golden ring on her hand, and she is holding the lapis lazuli measuring rod and measuring line in her hand. When she heard this, Arakagala slapped the side of her thigh. She bit her lip and took the words to her heart. She said to Nettie, her chief doorman, "Come, Nettie, my chief doorman of the underworld, do not neglect the instructions I will give you. Let the 7 gates of the underworld be bolted. Then let each door of the palace Ganzer be opened separately. As for her, after she has entered and crouched down and had her clothes removed, they will be carried away." Nettie, the chief doorman of the underworld, paid attention to the instructions of his mistress. He bolted the 7 gates of the underworld, then he opened each of the doors of the palace Ganser separately. He said to holy Inanna, "Come, Inanna, and enter." When Inanna entered, the turban headgear for the open country was removed from her head. "What is this?" "Be satisfied, Inanna. A divine power of the underworld has been fulfilled. Inanna, you must not open your mouth against the rights of the underworld." When she entered the second gate, a small lapis lazuli beads were removed from her neck. "What is this?" "Be satisfied, Inanna. A divine power of underworld has been fulfilled. Inanna, you must not open your mouth against the rights of the underworld." As she entered the third gate, the twin egg-shaped beads were removed from her breast. "What is this?" "Be satisfied, Inanna. A divine power of the underworld has been fulfilled. Inanna, you must not open your mouth against the rights of the underworld." When she entered the fourth gate, the "Come, man, come" pectoral was removed from her breast. "What is this?" "Be satisfied, Inanna. A divine power of the underworld has been fulfilled. Inanna, you must not open your mouth against the rights of the underworld." As she entered the fifth gate, the golden ring was removed from her hand. "What is this?" "Be satisfied, Inanna. The power of the underworld has been fulfilled. Inanna, you must not open your mouth against the rights of the underworld." When she entered the sixth gate, the lapis lazuli measuring rod and measuring line were removed from her hand. "What is this?" "Be satisfied, Inanna. A divine power of the underworld has been fulfilled. Inanna, you must not open your mouth against the rights of the underworld." When she entered the seventh gate, the pala dress and garment of ladyship was removed from her body. "What is this?" "Be satisfied, Inanna. A divine power of the underworld has been fulfilled. Inanna, you must not open your mouth against the rights of the underworld." After she had crouched down and had her clothes removed, they were carried away. Then she made her sister Erek Kagala rise from her throne, and instead she sat on her throne. The Inanna, the 7 judges, rendered their decision against her. They looked at her. It was the look of death. They spoke to her. It was the speech of anger. They shouted at her. It was the shout of heavy guilt. The afflicted woman was turned into a corpse, and the corpse was hung on a hook. After 3 days and 3 nights had passed, her minister, Nukumbrara, who speaks fair words, her escort, who speaks trustworthy words, carried out the instructions of her mistress. She made a lament for her in her ruined houses. She beat the drum for her in the sanctuaries. She made the rounds of the houses of the gods for her. She lacerated her eyes for her. She lacerated her nose. In private she lacerated her buttocks for her. Like a pauper, she clothed herself in a single garment, and all alone she set her foot in the Ecure, the house of Enlil. And when she had entered the Ecure, the house of Enlil, she lamented before Enlil. "Father Enlil, don't let anyone kill your daughter in the other world. Don't let your precious metal be alloyed there with the dirt of the underworld. Don't let your precious lapis lazuli be split there with the mason's stone. Don't let your boxwood be chopped with the carpenter's wood. Don't let young Lady Inanna be killed in the underworld." In his rage, Father Enlil answered Nukumbrara, "My daughter craved the great heaven, and she craved the great below as well. Inanna craved the great heaven, and she craved the great below as well. The divine powers of the underworld are divine powers which should not be craved, for whoever gets them must remain in the underworld. Who, having got to that place, could then expect to come up again?" Thus, Father Enlil did not help in this matter.